All right, let's talk about a choice that every single person building a product has to make. How do you pick the right research to guide you? Today, we're going to break down two totally different ways of doing things, Atypical and Forrester, so you can figure out which one actually helps you answer the questions you have. Let's get into it. But before we go there, I want to start with a question. It's a question that probably keeps founders and product managers up at night. What is the absolute single most expensive mistake you can possibly make when you're developing a product? And there it is, building something nobody wants. Just think about it. All of that time, the money, the effort from your team, it all just vanishes. This is exactly why getting the right kind of information isn't just a nice little bonus. It is the bedrock of everything. So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the dilemma every product builder faces. Then, we'll introduce two characters, the advisor and the investigator, and put them head to head. We'll even walk through a real-world story before we land on the one simple question you need to ask yourself. Okay, so let's jump right into that core problem. What is this dilemma that so many product teams get stuck in? The issue is almost never a lack of data. We're swimming in spreadsheets and reports. The real problem is a deep, fundamental lack of understanding of the actual user. And that is what leads to all the stuff we hate. Feature bloat, terrible adoption, and that awful feeling when you realize you've built something that nobody actually uses day to day. So, to solve that, you need the right tool for the job. And a great way to think about this is to imagine two very different roles, the market advisor and the user investigator. They sound like they might be similar, but what they do, well, it's worlds apart. First up, you've got the advisor. This is basically the role that a company like Forrester plays. They are masters of the big picture, looking at the entire B2B tech landscape. They're analyzing vendors, they're spotting huge market trends, and they're helping CIOs figure out which giant software platform to spend millions of dollars on. They serve the buyer. And then you have the investigator. This is Atypica. Their entire world revolves around the end user. They're all about diving deep, uncovering the real needs, the frustrations, the actual behaviors of the people who will be clicking the buttons on your product. They don't tell you what to buy, they help you figure out what to build. So we have these two different roles, but how do they really compare when you put them right next to each other? Let's break it down. Okay, here's the 30,000-foot view, kind of the cheat sheet. This table sums up all the major differences. But now, let's dig into the details that really matter. First, and you could argue this is the most important piece of the puzzle, who is the audience? Forrester is built for the C-suite, for the IT execs, for procurement, basically the people holding the corporate credit card. Atypica, on the other hand, is built for the people in the trenches, the product managers, the founders, the designers, the builders. So what do you actually get? With Forrester, you get these big, broad tech reports that evaluate entire markets. With Atypica, you get super specific, actionable insights about your users and whether your ideas will work. One is about the market, the other is about your user. Now, let's talk about speed, because this is where things get really, really interesting. With a firm like Forrester, you operate on their schedule. You're basically just waiting for those big quarterly reports to drop. And with Atypica, you can get insights from deep user interviews in about 20 minutes. Yeah, that's right, 20 minutes. This is not just a little bit faster, it completely changes the way you work. You can have a big question on Monday morning and have a real data-driven answer by lunch. That's how you move fast. And of course, we got to talk about the cost. I mean, this chart kind of says it all, doesn't it? A Forrester subscription can run you anywhere from $25,000 to $45,000 a year, which makes sense for a huge enterprise budget. Atypica is built on a subscription model designed so that any product team, from a tiny startup to a big company, can afford to ask questions all the time. Okay, so the numbers and charts are great, but let's see what this looks like in the real world. We're going to look at a tale of two very different product roadmaps to see the real consequences of these choices. So, path number one. A company subscribes to Forrester. They see this trend about needing more enterprise-grade features, so they spend the next 6 months building out this incredibly advanced, complex new stuff. And what happens? It launches, and their users are completely overwhelmed. Adoption just stops. They built what the market report told them to, not what their users actually needed. Okay, now let's imagine path number two. A different team uses Atypica. They talk to 20 of their real customers, and the feedback is shockingly simple. Forget new features. Your main stuff is buggy. Please just fix it. So they spend 3 months doing just that, fixing the core product. And the result? User satisfaction goes through the roof, and they cut their churn by a massive 40%. This is the absolute key, and this quote just nails it. Forrester describes what your competitors are building. Atypica reveals what your users actually want. And as we just saw, those two things are often completely different. And that brings us to the most important part of all of this, because it really all comes down to one thing. What is the question you are actually trying to answer? Look, to be really clear, this is not about saying one tool is bad and one is good. Forrester is an incredibly valuable tool if you're asking the right questions. If you need competitive intelligence or you're an enterprise evaluating a $10 million software purchase, their analysis is exactly what you need. And that's the core message here. It is not a battle of Forrester versus Atypical. It's simply about using the right tool for the job. One is for navigating the massive enterprise buying world. The other is for the detailed, hands-on work of building a great product. So as you think about your next move, don't ask which research tool is better. Instead, I want you to ask yourself, what do I really truly need to know right now? Do you need to understand the market, or do you need to understand your user? Your answer to that question will point you in exactly the right direction. Thanks so much for watching.